Welcome back to the Wealth Witches podcast. I'm your host, Katelyn Magnuson. Today we have a really special guest with us, Mel McSherry. As an international business and life guide, they help inspired but overwhelmed entrepreneurs honor their lives and become the architects of their own success. Mel uses their spiritual gifts and their 14 plus years of business building experience to slash entrepreneurs' stress and bring their success to life. By merging human design with traditional business development tools, Mel coaches others on how to connect with what they want and implement their strengths and strategies to be profitable every day, mentally, emotionally, and financially. Mel, welcome to the Wealth Witches podcast.
Thank you for having me, Caitlin. I'm so excited to be here.
I am too. And as we were discussing offline before this, in spite of, I would say everything that has been going on this week. So I would love, like we were talking about, this is really casual. So can you give
Mhm.
us a little bit of a rundown? Like, how did you get started? What's your 14 years of experience been in? Like, I want to
Yeah.
know everything.
Yeah. So it's been quite the journey with, bits and bobs and pivots and plot changes and all those things. Like I'm sure
Always.
everybody's is, right? And I always love to say that because I think sometimes we forget that. We think it's a straight line and it's never. So actually, when I started back in 2010, it was in the fitness industry. I was a certified personal trainer and I tried working for a corporate gym for about a year. Hated that all of my ideas were getting stolen or taken credit for. I didn't like that I didn't have the say in what clients I worked with or when I worked or anything like that matter. And luckily for me, I don't know if it's luckily, but at least in a way, I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. My father is now a very successful entrepreneur, but growing up, we survived several very unsuccessful businesses. And so I knew coming into this what this looks like. It was no rose-colored glasses. And I wanted to have full say. I wanted to be able to work the hours I wanted to work and work with the people that I want to work with, as well as be accessible price wise. So, with that said, I pieced out from the corporate life and started my fitness training business, and I loved it. I was traveling to people's homes. I was doing bridal boot camps, wedding boot camps, so on and so forth. And then the first kind of plot twist was when my son was born in 2011. And I was married at the time, and his father at the time worked in Major League Baseball. So he
Okay.
was gone 2 months straight for spring training. He worked every single home game, took every other away trip. I live in the city of Chicago. I have no family here. And so I all of a sudden became a married single mom to a newborn because he was born in the middle of the baseball season. So trying to figure out how to make my business work solo, sprinkle in some undiagnosed postpartum depression, and that first year was a party. So I had to take
I
a
can
step to the
imagine.
side, right? It's just
Yeah.
like, okay, let's just sprinkle all these things in here and see what sticks. So I decided to actually take a step to the side, put a pin in my business, and do online medical billing for my father's company. Yeehaw. So I could, you know, figure out what I wanted. And I never glaze over that part of my story because I think, again, we forget that sometimes we need to make decisions that alleviate a profitability point. You mentioned in my profile that I'm about a threefold profitability, mentally, emotionally, and financially. And sometimes we need to make decisions that, though are not necessarily aligned with our end game business wise, is going to alleviate a profitability point so we can figure out what those next steps are. And for me, that was financially. So I decided to put that pin in my business, do something that did not bring me any joy, just so I could figure out what the fuck this all looks like now.
Hmm.
So that actually came in the form of partnering with a network marketing company called Beachbody.
Hmm.
I became an online health and fitness coach for them. And my sole purpose was to do it for myself. I didn't want to do the team building thing. I didn't want to do the hey girl messaging thing. It's just, I loved fitness. I loved their platform at the time. And it really aligned with how I wanted to be able to, again, be accessible to all sorts of people and all sorts of bodies for all sorts of reasons. And I was rather successful rather quickly, at least consistent in my success. And that got the attention of my leader. She asked me, what am I doing? And I had no clue. I was just, going through my day.
Yeah.
And she asked me to make a quick training video of just a day in the life of Mel. And what I didn't understand or realize at the time was it's become the foundation of how I work now to this day, as well as how I share what those profitability points are, how to attain those profitability points. And it's honoring your time and energy management. We talk a lot about time management. I have always been that type of person. I'm like, okay, I feel like shit today. So what on my to-do list matches that energy level so then
Hmm.
I can rest. And then when I have more energy, I can knock these other things out. So it wasn't about the consistency, quote unquote. It was the consistency and how can I show up in this energy that I
Giving
feel.
100%, but your 100% can vary depending on the day.
Absolutely. And I didn't think that was anything revolutionary. It's like,
Shockingly, it is. Yeah.
right. It's just something I naturally did. So when they put it in the new coach boot camp, all of a sudden her team exploded. I had people who just came to me and said, hey, I want to work with you. I want you to be my team leader so you can help me guide through this. And all of a sudden, our team the next year was in the top 1% of the company. And I started doing team calls and trainings inside of Beachbody. I started doing team calls and training quietly for other network marketing companies. And if we fast forward to 2015, I'm in the middle of my divorce. I have one foot in fitness coaching, which is going nowhere because my other foot is doing free business coaching.
Hmm.
And I thought, if there's any time to fully maneuver again, it's now. And the universe is so beautiful when you just make a profitable decision and they reward you accordingly, right? So through Beachbody, I was honored to have a year-long internship with John Maxwell, who is one of like the leading coaching gurus. He's been around for decades. My dad reads his stuff. I mean, I grew up listening to his audiobooks.
Yeah.
And it was such a gorgeous invitation as well as a gorgeous initiation into what quote unquote coaching is. And so I completed his program. I got my international coaching certification through him and his team, left Beachbody in 2016, started quote unquote coaching in 2017 with kind of continuing on the network marketing lens, but with the overarching theme of I want to show people, especially those that identify as women, on how to own their businesses because in network marketing, it's easy to copy and paste. And
Hmm.
funnily enough, that's how a lot of entrepreneurs are still trying to build their businesses is just a lot of copy and paste.
Hmm.
And so that progressed very traditionally with very traditional mentors until I was introduced. Well, I always say when human design found me in 2020, shocking. Um, it was such a beautiful moment. And one now looking back on is like, well, of course, that's when this happened. I went to a spiritual retreat, my first one to Sedona 3 weeks before lockdown here in Chicago, unbeknownst to me. Like we obviously didn't know. And I didn't know we would be in lockdown as long as we were. And during that time, one of the other participants was talking about human design and they gave me my reading.
Hmm.
And when they did my reading, I sobbed because for the first time, I felt seen, not only by them, but myself. The
Hmm.
things that I punished myself for that I thought were quote unquote wrong, I knew now why I wasn't wrong. It was just the wrong process for me. And it gave me so much validation, confirmation, and awareness that I was just like, holy fuck, why don't more people know about this? Especially entrepreneurs. Like, I think everyone in general should, but relating it to business, this could just streamline so much stuff because we get so overwhelmed. Every single one of
Hmm.
us have unlimited potential when it comes to creating what we want. But we get so bogged down by everything we think we need to do or the shoulds in our life that we don't even get close to it. And we're never taught to go to ourselves first. We're taught to seek the expert, find the funnel, la 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 la, which is good. But if you don't know your foundations, your basics, then that's just a whole bunch of wasted time, energy, and money. So I left that retreat. I blessed and released my traditional mentor because they were very focused on money first, milestones,
Hmm.
and started working on myself through human design and through a couple of spiritual coaches as well. And through that, it 180'd my entire sustainability inside of my business. The fact that even after all this time, so from 2010 so for 10 years, not feeling complete in my business because I always felt like I needed to match the title,
Hmm.
whether that is quote unquote female business owner or business coach or what have you. And to finally have the vernacular of who I am and the why behind my how. These last 4 years, I have never felt more confident, more trusting of myself, more quote unquote authentic, because I
Hmm.
am now connected to myself, which is now connected to my business. So in 2022, I came out of the spiritual closet on LinkedIn, started talking about more about the spiritual tools that I use in coordination with the traditional, business development outlets that we have. And all of a sudden, it turned into now how I work with people. And it's such a beautiful gift that I can give to others because I'm giving them themselves. And as
Hmm.
a guide, back in the day when I was a coach, I was really pushed to have the answer, right? Like, you don't have the answer, but you have the answer. Like, just
Yeah.
stick to your frameworks. And I hated that because I would show up to spaces going, this is the day. This is the day that they just go, oh no, they are so full of it. Like this, not what I signed up for. And funnily enough, I had like right before I went to the spiritual retreat, I had 3 clients fire me because
Oh,
I was not what
wow.
they expected.
Yeah.
So the universe already prepping me for this is why. So now to come into a space knowing them, knowing how they are mapped out energetically, knowing how they make their decisions, what are the best, ways for them to utilize their energy and their time. All of a sudden now it's not about me telling them what to do. It's me just guiding them for what they already know to be true.
Right.
So that has been such a game changer in so many ways. And it's been so gorgeous to be able to share this information because it's you. It's not a one trick pony. It's not a quick fix. In fact, the person who brought human design forward says it takes an average of 7 years to fully envelop your design. It's a process, but it's one that really anchors you to yourself and therefore anchors you to everything else that you want to create and how you want to create it.
I love that. So now, something that I'm really curious about, I've been delving a little bit deeper into my human design, and it's something that I've
Mhm.
kind of had in the back of my mind for a while when I'm looking at the framework. And for me, I've been much more into astrology for like the last year or two. I've been really
Mhm.
using that as a lens with which to better understand myself, how I
Mhm.
operate. And there's always just
Mhm.
kind of been shadows of human design. I'm a
Mhm.
projector. And so
Same.
figuring that out has always been like interesting. And I have a girlfriend that's
Yeah.
been, really diving deep into human design. So I feel like I can kind of ride her coattails on it a little bit and,
Beautiful.
not have to hyper focus on that because I have my own areas.
Right.
But what I'm really curious about and like what intrigued me with what you were saying is as you're sort of unmasking, unpacking, like getting all of
Mhm.
this out in the open and getting really comfortable, how do you use, like you specifically or you with clients, how do you
Mhm.
use human design when it comes to business? Because I have my own designs or like understanding of
Mhm.
how I would, but I'm really
Mhm.
curious as to like how and why.
Beautiful. So I'm just going to use me for right now as an example, and then if we want to show you how other types would make a different decision, I'm more than happy to kind of make a comparison. But
Mhm.
since we're both projectors, I'll just start with myself first. So
Okay.
one of the things that was a big switch for me is the fact that as projectors, we have very small amounts of energy and we don't naturally have it. We naturally have like 2, maybe 4 hours, but we receive it from others. Therefore, a lot of us tend to burn out. So when I looked at that and I looked at how I was running my business, the math wasn't mathing. And I finally had that why behind that how of
Mhm.
not only that, but the why behind why I would get so exhausted, but also be so energized at the same time. I copped it up to being an introverted extrovert. No, I'm just a projector.
Yep.
Like,
Yep. Yep.
just a projector. And so, with that information and understanding that our pace is quote unquote slower because we need that rest time, changing the pace of my business, I knew I wasn't going to be able to do that on my own because I would self sabotage. I would feel
Mhm.
guilty that I wasn't working the 18 hours that I was working, that I was getting more than 4 hours of sleep at night, heaven forbid. And I wasn't proving myself as an entrepreneur.
Right.
So to save myself from that, I created automatizations where in my calendar knows I only take 3 meetings a day and I need 30 minutes in between. And I only take them certain days a week. So
Hmm.
I now no longer say, when do you want to meet? I'm like, here's my link.
Hmm.
Ta-da. Like, let me not shoot myself in the foot. And that has already and does already give me the quote unquote permission to utilize the rest of my day without worrying, oh, crap, I've got 7 meetings I got to figure out, blah, 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 and then I'm just done. And then I can't even think the next day
Hmm.
because I burned myself out. So that was one of the steps that I took with that awareness that I had from the validation I received from my human design, right? So to kind of compare it to how that would be for a different type.
Hmm.
So the two more energetic types are called generators, which is 70% of the population. And a subcategory of generators, half of them are what's called manifesting generators. These two types have energy upon energy upon energy. What separates the two is generators have more what's called like a stair step style of success. So they master something and then they have to plateau and pause. And then they master something and they plateau and pause. Manny gens are my multitaskers. Manny gens are my multi-inspired, multi-creative who want to throw a freaking brick at the wall next time somebody tells them to niche down. Like that's just, they can do multiple things at once very profitably.
Hmm.
So when I hang out with other ones, I can even feel it. When I have clients, because I work with a lot of Manny gens and generators, I am literally buzzing. But how I would frame that for them is just because you have the energy doesn't mean you should. So for my generators, honoring that stair step style. Yes, things are going to feel like it's taking off swimmingly and nothing's ever going to go wrong. And nothing does go wrong, but you hit that plateau, you hit that
Hmm.
wall. So it's not a point for you to keep pushing. It's like the definition of insanity, right? Trying
You
to
need to
do
be
the same thing. So
recognizing. Yeah.
yeah, you need to take that step to the side and go, okay, I'm now frustrated, which is the key indicator for generators. Now that I'm frustrated, I know that I have mastered. So it's time for me to recalibrate, to celebrate, and then to wait for that next step because that is their strategy is wait
Hmm.
to respond. So again, it really maps out your pace. It maps out how you can use these amazing tools that we already have invested time and money into that can work best for us. It also helps us understand why we don't want to be in certain spaces and to tell people to F off when they want us to be in them. For those who don't want to be in social media, there are pieces in your chart that tell you why you don't want to be on social media and what are the next best steps, which is usually networking, speaking, things along those lines, right? So again, it's not about me telling them how, it's them
Hmm.
going, oh, that's why. Okay, you see it, I see it, we both now know it. So let's look at the things that you already have and how can we customize them to you?
I love that. I love that. I think you were saying, and correct me if I'm wrong here, generators you said are the stair step, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Manny gens are like the multitaskers. What
Yep.
would be a sign of, you said like frustration for generators is a sign that
Uh-huh.
you like hit that plateau. What's a sign for Manny gens to be looking
So
out
management
for?
is also frustration. They just have a different strategy because they are a subcategory of a generator.
Hmm.
So generator, as I mentioned, their strategy is wait to respond. And by the way, 90% of us have weight inside of our strategy. So again, as an entrepreneur, that also is kind of a mind fuck. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, wait, no. Manifestors, pure manifestors are the initiators. The rest of us are their follow through. So we have elements of weight in
Hmm.
our charts. So with that said, with the Manny Gen, the overarching theme is wait to respond. But inside of that, to help them wait, they have to inform. They have to tell others what they're doing, what they're thinking, because Manny Gens, I like to say, can see, so they can see it in their head, but then they can see it 5 steps forward. And instead of informing someone of, hey, oh my gosh, I see this, this is what I want to do, they just go. And they forget that there's support. They forget that they don't have all those steps in energy. And
Yeah.
therefore, they usually come back and go, just kidding. And they have to kind of not start over, but they have to refresh it, right?
Yeah.
So by utilizing that informed strategy, though, again, that feels like a slower pace for someone who is energetic, at the end of the day, it's a sustainable pace that they can keep as a nanny gen that actually brings them more profitability points mentally, emotionally, financially, because there's less back and forth. There's less, why aren't these people doing what I want? Oh, because it's been in your head this whole time. Like, get it
You got to
out.
get it out. Yeah.
Right. And so it's those little steps. It's so fun doing readings because I've never have, and nor will I ever have a reading unless they gave me the wrong date or somebody goes, well, that's not me. We all naturally work inside of our design. We just go too far. We don't understand our specific starting and stopping points and our strategies. So to have this reading, again, it's all about validation, confirmation, and awareness. So then you can see, oh, that's where I went too far. Oh, I need to flip it to this instead. And it's those little things you do every day that make such a big difference. But if you don't know, you're just going to keep bulldozering and then either burn yourself out and or hate your business and hate this whole experience and then not even really know where to go from there.
Absolutely. Is there a theme, I should say, in your experience of what entrepreneurs tend to be, or are they really varied across human design?
They're really varied. I would say if I'm thinking of my clients in general, there are certain categories that just attract types. So a lot of projectors are coaches, consultants, because we are the guides. We see
Hmm.
patterns. We see Manny Gen CC. We see just like it's all encompassing of what we
Yeah.
see. And we are observers and listeners. So a lot of us are attracted to coaching, consulting, leading. Barack Obama was a projector. So that's kind of the area that we are attracted to. I find a lot of my Manny gens are my creatives. They
Okay.
are my graphic designers, but also they're graphic designers and a beekeeper, or they're a DJ and they're this. Like they have multiple things that they share and receive, money from, or at least something along those lines at the same time as this business that they're building. And generators, they can be anybody because they are and have been for a while kind of more the structure behind our survivability as a humanity. So the reason why this is going to get a little, I love, by the way, I'm in a space that I can get really woo-woo-y because it's like, duh.
Yes.
It's in the title. But up until it'll be 2027, we needed a lot of generators to survive as humanity, as I mentioned earlier. So we needed that quote unquote structure so we could have the Industrial Revolution, have all of these things to progress as a humanity.
Hmm.
We may have noticed we've gone a little bit too far. So, with that said, in human design 2027, it's called the solar plexus mutation, which means there's a new incarnation cross, which the incarnation cross is the overarching theme of
Okay.
your purpose and of that year, or of that cycle. So we are going to have a new incarnation cross, and more projectors are going to be born and less generators because we are moving more into a quote unquote feminine area. It's less about surviving in industry and more about collaboration and the individual. And so we are really flipping the paradigm of what is going to be profitable, what is going to be quote
Hmm.
unquote successful as business owners. So even inside of that, I feel like this is such a really gorgeous time to be having these conversations because we've already noticed change
Hmm.
the time of this recording. Mhm.
Yep.
Um, and so it is that, like, no, things are shifting and they are shifting out of where the non-traditional things are no longer going to work. So how can we find these more non-traditional tools to get to know ourselves better so we can progress as a humanity without trying to repeat what we have been doing the last 400 years?
Right. I feel like on a much, much smaller level, we've been trying to do what we've been doing or what's been quote working for so long. And we see that happen, like you were alluding to with businesses a lot, right? Doing some cookie
Hmm.
cutter. Well, it worked
Yeah.
for X number of years. It worked for Joe. It
Yep.
worked for Sally. Like, why is this not working for me? And the framework that I've been playing with, like with astrology and with human design, is truly just validating what I was already feeling, but giving
Yeah.
myself permission because again,
Yep.
like you, I was like, oh, I'm just an introverted extrovert because like I
Yeah.
can go and I can network and I love public speaking and there's so many things that I love showing up on social media. Absolutely love it.
Hmm.
But I'm also completely and utterly exhausted. Like I
Yeah.
went and spoke somewhere in I spoke at Palm Springs in March and I made a horrible mistake of staying at the same hotel that the event was occurring. Horrible mistake.
You
And
only have to do it once, though.
my husband was there and I just hid in my room the vast majority of the time. And we
Hmm.
ordered room service and I
Yep.
existed there because I was like, I can't, like, this is
Hmm.
just, and it was a fantastic event. It literally was like something straight out of the Barbie movie. It was amazing,
Yeah.
but so overwhelming and so
Yeah.
draining at the same time. And I came home and
Yeah.
I don't think I didn't do anything social for probably 2 weeks afterwards and like
Yeah.
barely showed up, did the bare minimum for calls. And it was funny
Yeah.
when you were chatting about your schedule. I don't take calls normally on Mondays. Fridays are reserved for podcast if I do anything on Fridays.
Hmm.
I do calls on Tuesdays and
Hmm.
occasionally Thursdays, and I do no more than 4 calls on said days.
Yep.
And that has seemed to work very well for
Yeah.
me. But I swear to God, every now and then I will forget or, oh, it'll be fine. I'll downplay it. And I swear, I just need to like tattoo it on myself or, put it on my computer somewhere. And
Yeah.
I think I had 7 calls in one day a month or two ago.
Yeah.
And I got through them and then I just barely existed the rest of the week. I
Yep.
canceled the rest of the schedule. And so it's such a good reminder that just because I can do it for a day or I can push through it for a day, what is the impact on the rest of the week on how I feel
Yeah.
if I would have just paced it better?
Exactly. And it's easier said than done, right? I'm sure your listeners right now are like, yeah, okay, I wish I could only take three
Yeah.
meetings a day. And the thing is you can. You have full say on how you spend the time and energy that you have. And also, again, it's about that sustainability. And it's interesting because, again, as two projectors talking,
Hmm.
we have low energy. This is what we are doing. One of the things I always caution with human design, because it is becoming more popular, is to not make it Instagrammable. And what I mean by that is don't just look up your type and all of a sudden start making massive decisions of what you can and can't do based off an overarching type. Who
Hmm.
you are as that type is in the rest of your chart. And that's beautiful and important and profitable information for you to have. You and I, as projectors, that's the only thing, honestly, that matches. We might have bits and bobs that match, but nobody has the exact same
Right.
chart. And so when you really do step away from that guilt of, I know I feel guilty because I'm trained to be available, to follow up, follow up, follow up, to initiate, initiate, initiate. Trust me, when I started in 2020 to shift that, I had guilt up the wazoo. I had to fight myself like, no, I know this to be true. And the only way, it's like working out, the only way I'm going to strengthen
Yeah.
this muscle is if I do it correctly instead of injure myself.
Hmm.
And so, yes, it may sound easier said than done. And there is going to be some internal backlash or even some external. You might get some backlash from people around you thinking that you're now lazy or I don't know, like insert whatever thought here, but it's not about what is that thing that you can attain as soon as possible. It's what can you achieve sustainably as you want to achieve it. So all of this that we are talking about today, I hope inspires people to start, digging a little bit deeper into who they are individually and be aware that this information that we're talking about is very surface level. So take the things that you understand and start making small shifts, but don't start making massive proclamations because you just have one piece. Do
Hmm.
your due diligence. And also know you are also human and shit still sucks sometimes, but you know now how to move through it more profitably, mentally, emotionally, and financially because you have that baseline information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do think that, again, I'm going to draw a parallel here to astrology for a second because I've spent so much more time in that. I think it's
Yeah.
like when you have the commodification of astrology and someone's like, oh my gosh, you're a Taurus sun? I'm a Taurus sun. But like that's just
Yeah.
so the start, like what, like even if you go big three and you're like, okay, well, what's everything else? Like there's so much more to the
Yeah.
chart and to what's going on. And it's like you
Yeah.
just scratch the surface. Like, yes, we could both be the exact same sun, moon, and rising and still show up very differently in our lives. Like,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
so yeah, like looking at that, you're like, okay, great, I'm a projector. That gives me like some idea
Hmm.
of who, how, where I should show up. But yeah, like let's dig a little deeper. So I know like one of your tenants, or like I was looking on your website before we were having this chat and like prioritizing your profits when it comes to human design. One, love it because again, we're merging like woo and wealth, which is I'm
Yeah.
all about. But how, again, like other than like diving deeper into their human design,
Hmm.
potentially like working with you, working on their own, like whatever they're
Hmm.
looking to do that feels really good for them.
Hmm.
What does prioritizing your profit and kind of looking at it from those three profit centers that you were talking about, like what does that
Hmm.
look like in practice for someone?
It's a great question. So I like to frame it as it's to me a flipped hierarchy of needs. I was
Okay.
trained to have money first, mental and emotional, wealth, health, whatever follows because you are financially stable.
Right.
And I don't know about you, but as an entrepreneur, that stability comes and goes sometimes.
It
And
does.
when I flipped it to asking myself, so to be profitable mentally, emotionally, that is my lens that I use day to day. And
Yeah.
that helps me, again, create a sustainable pace. So if you're listening right now and your entire day is focused on, okay, what boxes can I check? What can, my mentor said I had to call 7 people, reach out to 15 others, get 4 yeses. If that is how you are structuring your day, your mental and emotional capacity is not having any say whatsoever. And they're
Mhm.
probably screaming, right? And that's where burnout comes from because we put that financial focus first. And so for me, prioritizing your profit avenues is prioritizing them to the mental, emotional profitability first, and that financial always follows because we're not here to be productive. We're here to be fully profitable. So again, little thing, right? Of just instead
Yeah.
of waking up in the day going, okay, I have to do this. My mentor said I have to do this. I should do this. Flipping around to how do I feel? And what do I want? You're an entrepreneur. You are your boss. Yes, you might have mentors that are checking in on you. And if they're giving you guilt, then that's probably another reason to kind of reevaluate that
Hmm.
relationship. But you are the singular most important person in your life and in your business. And by prioritizing your mental and emotional profitability first, that becomes not only a sustainable pace, as I've been saying, it's also so much more enjoyable when you have permission to do things
Imagine
that make you
that.
happy. Like, what? Like if you cringe reaching out to strangers, then let's then figure out what's a better way to reach out to people. And again, unless you're a manifester, you're not supposed to reach out to
Yeah.
strangers. You're supposed to share and have people invite you or have people say something that you can respond to. Again, there's weight in everybody else in everybody's chart except for 10% of the population. So even in that of nobody's going to leave you behind. You're not behind. You're not lazy. You're not slow. It's just this is your pace. This is how you're feeling right now. So, what can you do today to honor that energy so you can come back the next day, or for some of us after the other day, a couple of months, years, I don't know,
Yep. Years. Yeah.
4 maybe. Uh,
Decades, maybe.
yeah. What can we do to just take care of ourselves so we can take care of our business and others? It's another frame to put your oxygen mask on first. What is it that is going to light you up, that fills you up, that so you can continue to show up and step in and create those opportunities to bring in that financial abundance?
Absolutely. Wow. I'm just like reassessing the rest of my day. Like I said, I needed I have been recording content because it's something that I really enjoy. And something that
Hmm.
I've been paying attention to is like cycle syncing in addition to all
Hmm.
of these. Again, we're working on frameworks and who I
Hmm.
am and understanding how I operate so that I can use it in business. Because for me, I absolutely have 1 week a month roughly where I am significantly more energetically creative.
Oh, yeah.
That's a really good week for me to record content than weeks where I'm like, I don't want to do anything. It's a really good week for me to have calls with clients. It's at like,
Hmm.
but again, what am I like? What do I want to prioritize? And for me, recording content takes significantly less energy than
Hmm.
having calls with clients, even though I love doing both of them. And
It's
so
different
those
kinds
are,
of work. Yeah.
yes, yes, I
Yeah.
love interacting with my clients, but it requires much more social energy on my side.
Hmm.
And so, what have I done in my business to be able to support that? What do
Hmm.
my calls look like? How do I structure them? Who can someone else on the team take calls, which they
Hmm.
have been doing? And it's been wonderful because guess what? I'm not the only person that can do that. I can let go of some control and get really
Yeah.
comfortable with it. And so it's been, yeah, it's been really interesting, like for my own journey to again, unpack, unmask, like whatever, unveil,
Right.
showing up as myself. And this is the first year that I have run my mastermind since February of 2021. And this
Mm.
is the first time that I ran the mastermind with the woo edition. And it was very vulnerable. And it is
Mm.
very, it was all those same things that popped up when I started getting comfortable not doing everything all the time, right? You're lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Why are
Hmm.
you sitting on the couch? Why are you expert? Like all those thoughts that pop up, whether from
Yeah.
youth, from others, from myself, from conditioning.
Yeah.
And that was never from my home life, which is wonderful and very supportive. But it was really interesting for me. And so running the mastermind and getting vulnerable and unpacking it, oh my God, Mel, the clients that we ended up with in that group, not only are they, it's not that they're just there to tolerate the woo, which I think was like my concern, right? Like they're doing this despite
Mm-hmm.
the fact
Yeah.
that we're having this. They're
Yeah.
there for it. They're
Yeah.
there in conjunction with. And that has been one of the coolest experiences to get comfortable being vulnerable because holy
Yeah.
shit, has it been so much more fun.
Yeah. And we are being an example. Like the fact that when I decided to come out of the spiritual closet, I actually did on LinkedIn first because I do like LinkedIn. It's one of my, I've curated it to be one of my favorite spaces.
Hmm.
And that's where I get a lot of my clients from because they're done with the traditional thing, but they don't consider themselves spiritual. But when I start talking about how human design is a combination of spiritual and science, all of a sudden they're like, oh, quantum physics, tell me more. And it doesn't mean that we have to start chanting and humming. It's just
Right.
this is how it all works together. It's a formula, it's a system. But I specifically want to do that because I knew there were more of me out there. Of I've read all the personal development books. I mean, I wrote one and I wrote it specifically in a way to where it was inspirational and actionable because I hated that I
Right.
couldn't find both. And or
Yes.
I've done all of the copy and pasting and I worded this as my mentor said and blah 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 blah. And because this has been so game changing for me, that's why I chose LinkedIn. And I did get some pushback from people of like, do you think that people are no longer going to want to listen to your work with you because you are adding this element? And to your point, no, I'm actually concising them down even more. I'm naturally filtering out now who is my ideal client and who is it. And those who are curious but don't want to say that they are, they can still respectfully stalk me. And
Right.
when they feel called and comfortable, they know I am a person that they can reach out to that is a safe space. So it is that it's so scary when you do start going against your training.
Conditioning, yes,
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
especially as an entrepreneur and those of us who were, assigned female at birth, it is those things that just like, oh, but, and when you do trust yourself enough and therefore have confidence in the process, it ends up to be one of the more easier, fluid ways. And all of a sudden, it now seems like, and because it is, becomes more of a fluid journey for you. Yes, there are ups and downs. There are a bit like, of course, because we're human. And again, human design gives you that operations manual that is yours and yours alone to tell you how you can move through it profitably so you can step in and show up when you have the energy again and it becomes even more profitable. And not only that, you have clients that you can have very cohesive relationships
Hmm.
with the fact that clients can come and cancel on me or I can reschedule with clients and not feel like because we are very open with each other like look this day nope not happening. I have an amazing kiddo who's autistic. We have great days, we have not so much days, and I'm very open and honest about that, not only on my platforms but with my clients. My former mentor would have no, like you don't tell people personal stuff. You show up or you just
Mm.
reschedule and you don't say why. I'm sick of that. I'm sick of trying to separate personal from business. My business is mine and it's personal. So
Yeah.
I'm going to show up as I am. I'm going to speak as I am. I'm going to curse on LinkedIn because I want somebody when they want to spend time with me, show up and go, oh no, I already know Mel. I've been following them for years. Like if I knew this is what they were going to say. This is the energy I came for. Let's fucking go.
Right, right. It's not like some bait and switch. Like you are who you are and you are who you
Yeah.
are everywhere. I have a client that one time said, I have two stories that are kind of funny, but I had a client one time And she showed up and she was like, you're the only person I can show up. And like, I don't feel like I need to excuse my appearance. She looked wonderful, but she was in like lounge clothes or PJs or something. So for her, she was very much not like done up or put together. And I was like, I don't give
Yeah.
a shit. She's like, I know you don't give a shit. I was like, we're just having, like, we're talking about your finances. I don't like, you show up how you're most comfortable and like how that
Yeah.
will occur. And there was one time, and my team still gives me teasing me for it, but I encourage my team to show up in very similar ways. We work with clients. I
Mhm.
want them to be comfortable. Finances can come with so many other things,
Yeah.
baggage, garbage,
Yeah.
whatever. And I showed up once. We use Loom a lot. And one of my looms ended up in our team trainings. And it is me with a bloody nose, with toilet paper in my nose, sending a Loom recording to a client
I love you.
and just like, and I knew them. I knew it was not going to be an issue, but like that's me. They needed information, and like
Yeah.
I could have gone video off. Did I think about that? No, I just recorded it as is, and I was like, "Hey, nice to see you." And they
Right.
still tease me about it, but like that's the energy that I want to be able to bring because I want to be able
Same.
to show up exactly who I am, and I want them to feel comfortable doing the same thing. And if they don't, then
Yeah.
like I'm not the right person for them, or we're not the right team for
Yes.
them, and that's okay.
Yes. And I say that about even, there is a ton of human design practitioners. And I'm not the only one, but I'm also the only one that's me. So if learning about human design and if you start, respectfully stalking me and you're like, this person is a little much, there are more. And just the fact that I've introduced you to human design, my job is done. Like
Right.
that's my goal. And if I am the person, Brill, I'm honored. If not, gorgeous. Like, do you, boo boo? But it
Yeah.
is that I remember the first time because I also trained myself, especially when I was very prominent as a quote unquote woman business owner. And
Hmm.
now I identify as non binary. I would full makeup. I mean, it was almost like I was trying to prove a point, which now that I think about
Oh.
it
Hmm.
subconsciously, I was. I was
You're
like, no,
like,
no,
yeah,
I'm
that
fitting the
tracks.
title. I mean, every Zoom call, I was done up from the waist up. And that was very important to me. And it was sitting up, eyebrows up, like listening, right? When I started deconditioning from that and really connecting to who I am, and that shift to just like, no, I sit how I want to sit. I might look like I'm staring off into space. That's also my fun neurodivergent brain. I'm not masking anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And therefore, I can listen better. I'm not so focused on, am I smiling? Am I not? It's my clients know I'm here. They know how I listen and that I am listening and hearing them because this is about them. And to your point, they can show up the same. We could have a quote unquote agenda. They'll show up to their session. I'll do a check in and they'll just need space held for this personal thing. And you know what?
Hmm.
Let's do it to it. Like, if you trust me, thank you. And let's hold space for that. I'm not about to go back to the days of it's not personal, it's business. Fuck that
Right.
noise. You need space held. You chose to show up. I got you. If you choose to show up and go, you know what, Mel? Not happening today. Gorgeous. Let's reschedule. I'm not going to penalize you for anything. But it's those non conditional practices that we need to step away from this like, oh, 24-hour cancellation. Oh, blah, blah, blah. If that works for you, great. You again, you do you. You're probably not even listening to this podcast if that's you, but just in cases. But it is that of like, yeah, show up as you when you do fully trust yourself, your identity, your processes, your ideals, all of those things. It's less about being promotional. It's about being emotional and about honoring that emotion for yourself, for others. I truly believe that is the major shift in entrepreneurship that we'll continue to see and strengthen. That was initiated in 2020, and that continues to initiate this day with all of these changes and, fuckery.
Yeah. I feel, especially on, TikTok or on social media, it's been the humanizing of businesses. Like I
Hmm.
want to support other people, businesses, etc., that have similar morals, that work like I do,
Exactly.
that we have shared commonality. And so for me, I would so much rather, I know my husband really struggled with this for a while. I was talking about, I'm on a weight loss journey right now. I've been taking a GLP-1 for 4 or 5 months, and I've been talking about it on TikTok.
Hmm.
And he was like, why are you talking about that on TikTok? That's not business related. I was like, whoo, number one, He's not an entrepreneur. He is very supportive, but every now and then he'll pop off with something. I'm like, we're gonna unpack this a little bit. But for me, that is part of my overarching journey, and wellness is like all of it is related so much,
Yeah.
especially as a person that's, AFAB, that is navigating this world, that is trying to do their best to break the
Yeah.
glass ceiling, elevate others. Like all of it matters. And if it can make any one person feel less alone, I'm
Yeah.
putting out the content that I would have wanted to see. I recently, just this week,
100%.
spoke about my sterilization on TikTok. That is not inherently business related. However, it is absolutely human related.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to me, again, to get vulnerable
Yeah.
because not even my own father knows about it at this point in time. It's not something that I've shared with him.
Yeah.
And to share that with a bunch of strangers, but the responses and the reaction and the solidarity that was felt
Mm,
was one really validating.
yeah.
Hey, good, this was something
Absolutely.
that like helped other people, answered questions. And I really enjoy seeing more of that. And I want to continue seeing more of that from creators, from business
Yeah.
owners, from,
Yeah.
in whatever way, shape, or form that looks like, right? It might be because the book you write is personal. It might be because the blog you put out has details about yourself to the extent that you're comfortable, right? And like, I don't
Exactly.
want
Yeah.
anyone risking their safety, that they're, I'm in a privileged position where I, at this point in time, still feel comfortable putting information out.
Mm,
And to me, I feel like it's my duty to others to do it to an extent,
mm,
but
yeah.
also ends up just providing a more ideal community with which to exist in.
Couldn't agree more. And it is, yeah, it's that it's breaking down that wall between personal and business. And in times like this, we see it more because we have people saying, well, why on your business page are you spouting what you believe in? And to your point, because this new generation that's coming up behind us, they corporates, no, people, yes, they want to know that they are putting their money towards something that is going to be beneficial for what they stand for and who they are. And they are meticulous about it. And so I learned, and this was a lot of growth and work that I have been doing, not only since understanding human design, but everything else that happened in 2020 with Black Lives Matter and really, coming to terms with my whiteness. And I think that could be a whole other episode. Uh,
Yes, it could.
and it's that continual work of it's not about how can I perform so people know who I am? How can I just show up so people see who I am? And
Mm-hmm.
that's when conversations happen. That's when change happens. It's not about what, black box you put out or anything along those
Mm-hmm.
lines. It is about it's your words, it's your actions, it's what you're hearing, it's what you're applying, it's what you're reframing because you learned something new. And the more that we can be more vulnerable and honest about ourselves, our journey, and what's important to us, and to your point, with what you feel comfortable sharing, then that comfortability is enough for you. And nobody should push you any further than you want to go. You set your own pace. And it is the direction that we are going of a space of having these very open conversations. Same. I've shared things on TikTok because none of my family's on TikTok that none of my family know either because I feel that is, I don't know if a safe space is the right word, but it's a space
Yeah.
that I can hold and be
Yeah.
in and be myself in a little bit deeper than I can on Instagram or especially Facebook or, LinkedIn. So it is that is one of the reoccurring themes that we're moving towards. And again, I think that's why human design is such a gorgeous additive to that, because for you to fully do that and not only fully as yourself, but protect yourself because you know your boundaries, you know your strategies, you know your start and stopping points, then it becomes expansive in ways that you never imagined because it's
Mm-hmm.
from you. It's not you recycling something that somebody else said that's not yours. It's this is my voice, and here are the tools that I have that have amplified it, that I've customized to myself because I know this is to be true.
1,000%. 1,000%. Mel, if someone wants to work with you, stalk you in the best way, in a healthy
Yeah.
way,
And
um,
respectfully.
Yes, yes, in a respectful way. Yes. Or learn everything they can from you. And I know that we'll link all of this in the show notes,
Yeah.
but what are the best ways to further absorb information that you have if someone's resonated with how you operate?
Absolutely. So if you just want to learn more and respectfully stalk me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Mel McSherry, as well as I'm more active-ish on Instagram, Mel_McSherry. If you are ready to have a conversation, whatever that means to you, no pressure, no sales, no nothing, safe space to honestly pick my brain if you want to. I do offer 30-minute complimentary virtual coffees, and you can book one of those at virtualcoffeewithmel.com, or feel free to check out my services and how I work at melmcsherry.com.
Wonderful. I'm so excited for that. And yes, we'll link everything. We'll have it all on social media as well for anyone that might be catching that there. But I feel like we have 3 more episodes we need to record
I
after this. It's just
When can I come back, Caitlin?
right. I know. We'll get it on the books. Thank you, Mel.
Thank you.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Wealth Witches podcast. I hope our magical money talks have left you feeling empowered and inspired. Remember, wealth isn't just about dollars in the bank, it's about abundance and financial freedom in all aspects of your life. I'm Katelyn Magnuson, encouraging you to keep challenging the status quo and embrace your inner witch on this financial journey. Until next time, stay magical.